Stratford, especially being one of the top 7 intelligent communities in the world?
Well, I think for us, what it really tells the Canadian digital media field that Stratford is a leader in digital media. We're recognized worldwide, and when you bring all the experts, leading experts from public sector, private sector, and academia here to Stratford, it is a great mix of minds and thoughts and ideas, and it puts some great intellectual property on it, and it all happens in Stratford.
I'm Barclay Blair. I own a consulting company called Via Lumina, and we work at the intersection of law and technology. So issues like governance and compliance, information management, privacy are big for us.
So everybody is so positive about social media that if you're not Facebooking and you're not LinkedIn and you're not Twittering all the time, that there's something wrong with you. But there are issues that come with that are really important.
Yeah, I think there's issues for people in their personal lives, and there's issues for people in their lives as employees or members of larger organizations. I mean, these technologies are powerful. They've changed the way that we communicate with each other, but there's risks associated with that. Some of those risks attached to us personally, and some of those attached to the organizations we work for. And that's really what we focus on, is how can you use these technologies without while steering clear of the risks. So there's risks, in hiring employees, for example. Many employees are employers are asking for username and passwords for sites like Facebook, and that gives rise to a number of legal questions in the HR realm. And can you do that? Should you do that? We see some states moving to ban that activity. On the employee side, that perhaps should give us cause to think about, well, what is our persona on those networks, and do we want to control that persona? But if we do that, does that take away our interest in it, or desire to be there in the first place?
Essentially, we do audible name tags, which you can attach to your email signature, LinkedIn profiles, social networking pages, profile pages like About.me, and it's great for people who have hard to pronounce names, but also for enterprises who have a lot of cultural diversity and are interested in boosting their diversity score. So it's a very simple, useful tool. Also, a great email marketing product. So there's many uses for it. I mean, a lot of people see the value in terms of personal branding and being able to connect with people personally, because it establishes that personal connection without needing that face-to-face.
Look at the Huffington Post. They take the best news from sources all over and they aggregate it so that myself, the consumer, I can get what I want quickly, and they understand my consuming habits. So you're talking about doing the same thing with your clients with social media. Can you explain how that works?
Sure. So I'm Linda Brown-Gansert, and I've been working most recently on this notion of private networks and how people are grouping within groups. So the 583 friend universe is unmanageable, and a lot of research is showing that 6 to 10 of those people are actually your closest friends. So what sort of tools enable us to group our friends and differentiate them from our colleagues, differentiate them from our families? What sort of services help us mediate and also share what types of information, what's public, what's private? Do I really want to check in here and tell people that I'm out of town at Canada 3.0, or would I rather keep that private? And where's the toggle within the applications I'm using to let me choose whether that's public or private?
Canada 3.0 is the country's leading digital media forum. And one of the interesting sessions was on cultural policy in a borderless digital world. And one of the speakers on that panel was Glenn O'Farrell, who used to head the Canadian Association of Broadcasters. Now he is head of Group Media, TFO. He had a lot to say about Canadian content.
Well, I consider that it's something, Janice, that is so important to us. We just celebrated 30 years of a Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a charter that celebrates inclusion, diversity, and equality. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is our national identity. And our national identity, we promote it through media. We tell our stories through media. And if we don't have the capacity and the means in a digital world to tell those stories in the digital media environment, those stories are lost. And this voice of 35 million people in our collective experience is lost. And that's what I find to be very troubling about moving forward without having considered the options that we should have to support Canadian content going forward. Measures that are not designed to preserve the status quo, but to develop these voices of today and of tomorrow to keep that legacy alive.
And we've done it with the Canadian music industry, and we've watched these stars rise around the world.
Absolutely. We've seen generations now of Canadian music stars rise through the ranks thanks to their talent, their remarkable talent, but also thanks to measures that supported them through airplay here in Canada. It's hard for me to conceive how you become an international star without becoming a star at home first. There are exceptions, clearly, but generally, whether it's Nickelback or Drake or any of the stars that you want to think of, most of them became stars here. Sarah McLachlan is a good example of that. And I think that that's what we have to figure out for the future, is how do we maintain that going into a digital world while giving people the choice they want.
I saw that you had a tweet about working with the high school students. Did they impress you?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, they came up with some really good ideas. They were smart, they were innovative, and they were kind of exciting and really related to their interests, their personal interests. So that was really exciting to see how they got involved. And once they started creating an interactive prototype on their papers and drawing it out, you could really tell how they were approaching this from the usability aspect and how they were trying to figure out like what would make their app the best.
The message I'm taking from the report is, while Canadians are adopting this technology, while Canadian businesses have access to the technology, we really need from our various governments some serious leadership and some serious support in looking at how can we model and demonstrate the importance of this technology to a modern society.
Tell me how you've taken the Murdoch Mysteries and you've adapted it online in much smaller forms in your webisodes.
One of the things that we realized was that fans of the Murdoch series wanted more Murdoch. And so instead of just giving them the same content they would have on television, we decided to give them content that would sort of take that experience and amp it up or change it. So in the case of Curse of the Lost Pharaohs, which was the web content or the webisodes we created for Murdoch Season 4, this takes it into the world of a camped up Murdoch, you know, with graphic novel style. So for the fans, it just takes them somewhere different.
Talk a bit, if you would, about the model and the business model, and do you have to still take it to conventional television in order to pay for those webisodes?
Yeah, the model really for Murdoch is that it is fully paid for by the Canadian Media Fund and the Canadian broadcaster, and that's how it's funded. But what's interesting is we're now able to sell that content around the world to all of the broadcasters who are broadcasting Murdoch. So we're actually starting to see some revenue back into the system, which is fantastic. So because it's original content. So again, it's new bottles and early days, but it's working well.
But do you see a point in the not too distant future where the original content will be made strictly by you, say with the Murdoch Mysteries or whatever else you're doing, just for the web?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there'll be no broadcasters?
No, how you deploy it is, I mean, how you find an audience. I mean, the one thing the broadcasters have, of course, is they have an audience that is a captive audience. They go to ctv.ca or they go to CBC or they go, you know what I mean? If you're just out there on the web, how do people find you? It's sort of how do you know, it's that old question. So you do need you need a portal, you need a destination. And, you know, that's one of the challenges of doing it without a big partner.
Tell me about the app that you're working on.
We are working with a company called Art Traction to build this app called Stratford Stroll. It's going to highlight culinary, culture, and favorite sites in Stratford. So you can log on download the app and open up whichever walk you'd like to take, and it'll take you through a sort of curated tour of the best sites.
And you're working on it right now. You're trying to launch it here.
We are working on it live at 3.0. Hope to finish it, working with the Artraction team. They're here behind me coding. Hopefully by 5 o'clock today we're done. If not, tomorrow or the next few days we'll be rolling out.
Have you seen this grow over the last 4 years?
Well, it's been incredible. The first year it was kind of there was some people came, couldn't believe it. The second year was that was fun. I'm going to come back. Now it's people coming saying I got to get to Stratford because that's where all the knowledge is. That's where the ideas are. That's where they're kind of charting the future. And for us, having the University of Waterloo Stratford campus here, we're going to have that 12 months of the year, every day in this community, and that's what's exciting me the most.
Do you think that there are a lot of ideas that come out of here that actually come to fruition after they leave the building?
Oh, for sure. I just walked through the trade show area, and there's companies collaborating with companies. There's individuals from business finding people to help solve problems. And if we could find some way to do a matrix, that when this was all over, to look at the GDP generated from a conference like this, the ideas, the employment, the dollars spent on research and innovation, I think we'll be amazed at what it's going to be like now and what it'll be like 5 years from now.